it's the jobless recovery because everything is gauged by the fiat money changers consolidating global power, but that's only part of it. Demonizing the U.S. and England's name worldwide with wars, putting our troops under UN control, DHS reports, demonizing gun owners, conservatives, those that don't like the New World Order or want to end the feds. Suddenly they have Stasi TV ads, spy on your neighbor. Suddenly they've gotten the Girl Scouts to spy. Suddenly the Boy Scouts. I mean, everything, as you said, is a quickening. It has gone a quantum level leap into Maoist level hell. They are definitely launching their operation. So go through that, go through the flu, go through what David Icke sees happening, but also as the tyranny comes in like a flood, liberty is coming in, the mass awakening you're witnessing.
See, the thing is that it's a simple equation. The more you centralize power, the more power you have to centralize even quicker. And that's why the process of centralization has got faster and faster and faster through the 20th century, eventually reached the point where it was so blatant it was given a name, globalization. And that's gone on and on and on. And as more and more power has been centralized, it's had the power to centralize quicker. So the whole thing is getting faster and faster. And the other thing, I mean, we've only got half an hour today, Alex, but, you know, it's something that I've been writing about and I'm getting much, much deeper and more understanding about as the days pass now. You know, when people look at the speed and all those things you absolutely rightly detail there, you look at the speed in which all this is coming in all these different areas of our lives, in all the different fine detail of our lives, and it's coming in a coordinated way to a coordinated timescale. This is not people sitting around a table saying, what's our next move, guys? This is much deeper. The rabbit hole is much deeper than this, and it's in finding the source, if you like, of the rabbit hole. That's what's going to bring the system down. And we're going to do that in the next few years, no question. It is coming down.
Well, David, I want to talk about that.
Comes down, it's in a far less extreme state than it would otherwise be if we do nothing.
David, I want you to get into that, kind of a brief overview. We'll cover it more on Monday and talk about your new book and some of the events coming up. But a point you just made about how this is coordinated. They are banning homeschooling in Australia, England, the U.S., or attempting to, simultaneously with the same PR, with the word-for-word same scripts, and I see it in the local news. They are banning neighbors, including police officers, keeping each other's children, period. They are banning garage sales. They are banning people selling corner fruit stands in the countryside simultaneously worldwide. It is all admittedly coordinated by this private corporate Borg. Break that down, and what is the end game? How does the flu tie into it?
Well, the way they can do this, Alex, is a simple structure. It has to be simple. It looks complex. Well, you know, when it's all happening, as you're talking about it now, it looks complex. How do they do this? But actually, it's a very simple structure. It's like a transnational corporation. You've got the headquarters, which is overwhelmingly in Europe, and then you've got the subsidiary companies of the headquarters in each country. Instead of corporations, although they're part of it, of course, it's secret society networks. So you've got a global secret society network with a spider at the center, overwhelmingly at operational level in old Europe. And then in each country, like the United States, you have a subsidiary network of secret societies controlled by the bloodline families, and their job is to introduce the centrally dictated global agenda in their sphere of influence by controlling that country's banking, media ownership, the corporations, the cartels, etc. And so this is how they can do it globally, as you've rightly described, with this coordination. It's because in each country, these subsidiary networks of secret societies are introducing the centrally dictated agenda. So, of course, because they're all doing it, it's happening in every country at the same time. This is how it's possible. And the idea is to subjugate humanity on a scale that would make all world wince. And there's one area, Alex, that really does need a lot of focus on because I've been seeing so much around the world at different aspects of this, and that's how the state is after our children. You know, when you look at Aldous Huxley, a member of the Fabian Society, one of these strands in the web, a major one actually, in his book Brave New World, he was talking about hatcheries, public state hatcheries to produce the children, and the children were parted from their parents. What you're seeing is change after change after change, what I call the totalitarian tiptoe, step by step by step, which is giving the state more and more control and influence over our children and taking it more and more away from our parents. So when Obama came out outrageously in the last week or so and called for children to spend more time at school and for school holidays to be shortened, etc., because we have to do this for America. No, Mr. Obama, you have to do this for the agenda of the masters that you dance to the tune of, because it's about taking more time away from children with their parents, taking away more parental influence, more individuality influence, so the state all-encompassing blob mind program can get more access to their minds for longer.
David,
and this is why in Britain, I'm sure it's happening in America too, I'm sure you'll confirm this, but in Britain, we're having children taken away from their parents by social services. In fact, I know it's happening in America because I've done some research recently on it, for the most extraordinary reasons. For instance, we've had a couple, they spent £38,000 on fertility treatment to have a child. When the social services came round after the child was born, just a very, very small baby, the mother joked that the birth had ruined her figure, just to laugh. They took her children away, and they're still taking her children away. And then what the social services say is, if you want to see your children at all, like once a month or so, then you must not challenge our decision. Otherwise, you're never going to see them again. This
and
is what's going on. And
them.
it's not kind of here and there, one time in a million. It's becoming more and more constant, more and more common. And it's
and David, let me throw this out. Let me throw this out.
Brave New World.
It is all scientifically. I've had Charlotte Iserby, the former head of the Department of Education Policy. That was the plan in the 80s, was to end the family. It's all on record. That's what they say in eco-science. In the family, raise everybody in dormitories, sterilize us through the water supply, through the vaccines. And yes, simultaneously, now if you yell at your child, don't run out in the road, that's abuse. They take your children. No judge, no jury, no due process.
Yep.
And we know the family courts were set up as eugenics courts in England, Germany, and the U.S. And absolutely, they're now saying you can't babysit your neighbor's kids. You can't talk to your neighbor's kids unless you have a government license. And I talk to people that live in England. It's happened to me when I've been there. They come up to you and ask, why are you walking your dog? Are you a criminal? And so everyone's being trained to answer questions. The secret police are everywhere. And now in Europe, England, and the U.S., they go into the schools. And I saw this in Billings, Montana, when I was there last week at the hotel, a whole hotel full of Girl Scouts being trained by Homeland Security to spy. Yeah. I wasn't reading this in the AP. It was in the news. I was witnessing it without even looking, David.
I know. And, you know, it's interesting. The more I research this and the more I go down these different channels of control, manipulation, and imposition, the more times the name Rothschild ends up at the end of it, you know. This whole mind manipulation, Brave New World, and all the rest of it, this social engineering, comes out of the Frankfurt School in Germany, which moved then into America to change the face of America. That's what he wanted to do. The Frankfurt School was fundamentally connected to the House of Rothschild. It's the Tavistock Institute of Human Relations is another face of this, or another mask on its face. And then you go through the banking system, which is happening now. The Rothschilds have controlled the banking system globally for centuries, and the more and more as time has come to the present day. We need to focus on this dynasty because it really is at the core, the spider of this whole web, and they operate in the background. So you know, once upon a time, as you well know, everyone knew about the Rothschilds' power. What they've done through the latter part of the 20th century is hidden behind front organizations, front nominee directors, all the ways that they do it, to hide the extent of their power. It's like the Rothschilds are not as powerful as they used to be. Are you kidding? They're more powerful than they've ever been.
Well, that's what I've researched, is every time I research a group, a power group, a takeover, the environmental movement, the carbon tax, it's always Rothschild, and which is intermarried with the British royals. Are you saying they're greater than the German house of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha? You're saying at the very center is the Rothschilds. I'm
saying that at operational level, all roads lead to the Rothschilds. You see, you've only got to do some simple background research, never mind detailed background research, into Israel, and you realize very quickly from the start, Israel is not Israel, the land of the Jews. It's Rothschild land. The Jews are being played like a violin in Israel and being set up for some appalling things in the future, because the Rothschilds own the place. The Rothschilds control the American government. That's why the American government gives fantastic, extraordinary amounts of money to that small slither of land called Israel, including enormous military spending. It's because if the same force controls both countries' governments, then one hand of the force says give the money, and one hand of the force puts its hand out and says thank you very much for it. This is why it goes on. This is why Israel has nuclear weapons